On this episode of One on One, we're going to talk with Doug Hamilton. Coach Hamilton, to a lot of you, I've been knowing him for many, many years. As a matter of fact, I knew his family very well. They were right down the street on Austin Drive. But we've talked about dynasties over the years. We've talked about softball, where it started at Vanderbilt with Coach Albert, Coach Johnson. But you know, we haven't given enough attributes to the soccer program at Vanderbilt. Coach Hamilton has many state championships. We'll tell you how many. He's been involved in many of them. But for a guy like me, we didn't have soccer unless we played it in PE with Coach Wander at St. Francis. Soccer was not part of the program at Vanderbilt. But when it got there, many state championships. We'll talk with Doug right after the break. Don't go away. One on One is brought to you by the law office of Waits and Downer. It's not just about soccer with you. You're a pretty accomplished keyboard guy. Also, when did you start playing music?
So actually playing music since I was 2 or 3 years old.
Did Uncle George have anything to do with that?
He did, but before him, I'll tell you, right there on Wood Street, you know, that's where my great-grandmother had a piano in her house, okay? Yeah. We're talking great-grandmother. I was fortunate enough to know 5 of my 8 great-grandparents, so I counted that as a blessing. My dad played a little bit of music. You know, back in the early 70s, it wasn't piano, it was, you know, the Lowry organ, right. If you remember that. So, you know, we'd go over for Mardi Gras, and I would just tinker around. My great-grandmother played, and then you mentioned my Uncle George and Dad, just always loved music. And, you know, when I started taking piano lessons, it really, you know, my teachers back then didn't know this, but they would play it once, and I just play it by ear. I don't read music that well. I think I'm pretty musical, but I'm not a really accomplished theory person. So, but
you're one of those hard students because you've always, to me, had this nervous kind of energy that most keyboard players have sometimes, okay? You got a keyboard player behind the camera.
That's right.
But, so were you one of those where they were trying to teach you and the teacher's going, oh my God, settle down, Doug?
I wouldn't say that. I think if I'm being, my music teacher wife will appreciate this comment. I don't think my original teachers knew that I wasn't reading the music. And so they never stopped me. I apparently was playing what was on the paper without knowing I was playing it. So later on, you know, I played the trumpet in the band, and I started learning a little bit music theory. And
you playing by ear?
I did play by ear. You know, we can't not mention Billy Stark in this conversation too, because you talk about, you know, fun on a keyboard. He and his sons played music with me at Vanderbilt, and we had a lot of fun. You know, I always said when I grow up, I want to be like Billy when it comes to playing the keyboard.
But if you play with Billy, you better be ready to go all across the spectrum.
Oh, that's right. We'd practice, and we wouldn't play any of the songs we'd practice, but I think that was part of the fun. To this day, I played music with some of the guys that I've been playing for 20 years. And for Roof of the Reason. And they played a song I didn't know. And the first time I played it was as I was playing with them live on stage.
Did you ever think you'd be back at Vanderbilt in a role where your mama used to be teaching there, and then all of a sudden, what brought you back to Vanderbilt, first of all, and what brought you to the job you have now?
Probably my senior year at Tulane. I graduated in 1991 from Tulane, and I started thinking, okay, I got to get serious. I got to get a job, right? And I had always worked, you know, worked in the fishing tool industry with my best friend's dad. I worked at Burger King. Yeah. I worked in a refinery. But I needed a job with air conditioning, right? So I'd been pre-law, pre-med, and I just said, you know, I really think I want to be a teacher. At the time, I was in some political science classes and some American history classes, and I just showed up to Vanderbilt one day. They had an opening in a religion class, okay, and Brother John hired me. I think one of the more proud moments in Mom's life was when I became a teacher, and then proud and sad at the same time is when we had a conversation. It's my 31st year at Vanderbilt, and Mom was there, I think 16 or 17 years. So when I got like 2 times as many years as she did and said, Mom, you know, I've been at Vanderbilt twice as long as you were, she was proud and a little sad at the same time. As an alumni director, I hear lots of people tell me, hey, I had your mom, you know, she's one of my favorite teachers. I always tell them how much I appreciate that. After I jokingly say, hey, sorry if your mom taught you too much accounting. And I have so many accountants that tell me your mom was the one that got me started in that. So I'm real proud of Mom and her influence on me being at Vanderbilt.
How'd you end up at Tulane? You had Tulane people before you?
No, sir. You mentioned my grandfather Hollenshed.
Yeah.
He was LSU. My parents were both LSU.
What to say?
That's
Where did the rogue Tulane thing come from?
So I had gone
Great
to
school. Huh?
I went to spring testing at LSU. I was all set. I gotten into LSU, gotten a little scholarship to LSU, and then I got an academic scholarship to Tulane, and I don't know what came over me. I kind of had, I guess I had a little bit of an adventurous spirit.
You were a rebel?
No, well, my mama might say so, but she said when I was a sophomore in high school, I probably was a little rebellious. But I didn't know anybody at Tulane. I really don't know other than, I'm really glad I did, because I think I came into contact with maybe a broader view of the world. But it was very competitive. Not so, you know, I've taken classes at Nichols, you know, worked on my master's there. But I'm very glad I went. I got 50-yard line tickets when Terrence Jones and Mark Zeno were playing back in those days. Yeah. So we enjoyed our time in New Orleans. I would say that I still couldn't tell you exactly why I made the decision back in 1987 to go to Tulane. I think the full tuition scholarship helped.
Yeah.
It's a good time in the city.
You get a great education. We tease Tulane a lot because we LSU fans, but Tulane's not a bad place to get an education.
Oh, my grandfather's almost on his deathbed. He told me how proud he was, because, you know, back when he was at LSU, you know, there was real rivalries between LSU and Tulane, and he told me how proud of me he was.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
So Doug, how'd you meet Jenny?
We were students at Vanderbilt during the same period of time. When I was a senior, she was an 8th grader. We didn't really know each other at that time, but we got to know each other later when we were coworkers. It's going to sound sort of sappy. I can't believe I'm saying this, but after soccer practice, I would oftentimes go in the band room, and they had a piano there, you know, and I started playing Phantom of the Opera. And she, of course, knew it. And so a little bit of a sappy story. She recruited me as a piano player. She was doing a lot of the theater and show choir songs. And so that's how we sort of got to know each other. We became friends.
So time out, I got to ask you. You were wooing your wife with Phantom of the Opera.
Well, I guess
be honest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I will say this: I didn't sing in front of people, and you know, we obviously shared a common interest in music, but that was not the woo moment. You know, when we were playing Phantom of the Opera, I think she likes musical theater, and the fact that, you know, I was a coach that knew how to play the piano and sing a little bit of Phantom of the Opera. Yeah, I'm going to say that there was some musical connections there.
Well, what a great journey. You end up as alumni director. She ends up as principal. So I guess I can say for the audience, she's your boss.
Let me do my point of clarification here. I actually
can't
work,
wait to hear
yeah,
this.
I actually work for the president of our school. So
Okay.
that certainly is something we've talked about and friends of mine have teased about. So we're both very passionate for the school, okay? Jenny actually taught there for 8 or 10 years before she was in St. Charles Parish, and then she came back. Both of our kids attended Vanderbilt. My daughter's about to graduate this year. We're very passionate about the school. It's one more way we get to have something in common,
And your boy, we had a couple of life lessons here at HTV. He reminds me so much of the Holland Sheds.
You should see him now. He's got some long hair. At Nichols, he's known as the kid with the long blonde hair. So he speaks, fondly. You talk about the life lessons. Our goal as parents is to try to expose them to many different opportunities, and him working, at HTV was definitely an opportunity. So
I always tell them when they come in, I'm not going to be the easiest, but I'm not doing you justice if I'm too easy.
that's right.
Just like being a coach.
A coach and a parent. So
that's the way it works.
You appreciate
What
that.
do you've gone through Vanderbilt, you've experienced success on great levels with the soccer program. Now you're the alumni director. You're trying to wrestle up 78, 82, 68, 72, all these people that think their class was the best. But isn't that the beauty of it? Everybody thinks their class was the best. You got to unify it.
That's right. I've really enjoyed being the alumni director. I've had many different roles at Vanderbilt. This one is satisfying on a different level, and I guess part of the reason why I'm able to enjoy it so much is because I've been there so long, right? Starting with you as a counselor, as a St. Francis Crusader.
Wow, that's way back.
We're plugged into the community, whether it was St. Francis, Vanderbilt, and so mom being a teacher and dad sort of being engaged. They would always help with the fair, which we haven't really mentioned. I know you know a lot about that. That was such a giant community builder. So we talk about those things. If I don't know the person directly when I'm talking as an alumni director, after teaching 30 years or coaching 30 years, after mom being there for so long, there's a lot of different points of connection. When you try to wrangle classes together, I think they're just so happy to have, Vanderbilt telling them how much we miss you, we love you, and you're always going to be part of our history. We need our alumni. We go back to 1870. When the Maronite sisters started. And then, of course, you know a lot of the history probably better than I do when it comes to St. Francis and Father Vanderbilt and the Brothers of the Sacred Heart coming in. I really am all in. I can't not mention Brother Alfred, one of my favorite jokes as a long-time teacher. I'm talking about Brother Alfred. Right. When I was a young teacher, I'd put my arm around Brother Alfred and say, between Brother Alfred and I, we have 50 years of teaching experience. Of course, he had 48 of them and I had 2, right? The brothers, were great mentors for me. It allows me to talk about all those different stories with, the different decades of people, as an alum.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
A great Brother Alfred story. He used to play in his garden right behind the brother's house.
That's right.
Which was right behind the goalpost.
That's right.
And we would kick the extra points and field goals on that side. So I never forget Coach Morvan telling me, Brother Alfred wants to see me and you. What about? He goes, I have no idea. But when Brother Alfred calls you, you go.
That's right.
Very nice conversation. He said, look, Martin, I know you're kicking extra points and field goals. He goes, and Coach, I only ask one thing. Can y'all kick on the other side? Because y'all ruining my tomato plants.
That's right. Is that why
Yes,
he put
sir.
the fence around it?
Yes, sir, brother. We started kicking on the other side. We weren't thinking about it, but he was. So the legends, those brothers set a tone, didn't they?
He did. As you know, the brothers have left the area, which is sad for, you know, people in our era. But I could tell you, you know, I had Brother Alfred, Brother Donald, Brother Anthon. I taught with Brother Ray. Brother Carl was there for many, many years. And those five, I think, are the 5 longest serving brothers at Vanderbilt.
Remember Brother Anthon's famous line? Rolling stones gather no moss.
Right.
I must have heard that 1,000 times.
I'm not going to do our viewers the disservice of trying to recite some of the notes he made us memorize, but I could still do some of those notes. But that was the way of the brothers, you know. Certainly the discipline. And by the time I had Brother Alfred and Brother Anthon was still pretty stern.
Oh, yeah.
They all had their ways, and you know, you didn't walk into any of the brothers' houses and goof off. And even when you did, they you know, young man, you stand up back there, you know, and they didn't put up with a whole lot.
When a young lady in my class was talking too much, and Brother Anthon walked to the back of the class, picked up her desk, held it over everybody else, moved it to the front, put it right by his desk. He said, "Now you won't talk as much, young lady." And we were all like, did he just do that? He was pretty strong.
He was. Nothing but fond memories of the brothers.
What would you hope that alumni of Vanderbilt who are watching this, how can they get involved more and help you as an alumni director get involved with the school?
The main thing we try to do is engagement. You know, follow us on social media, right? That's how we get a lot into Facebook and Instagram. The thing that we're trying to push now is schedule a visit to campus with me. You know, just email me, find me on the school website, call me. You know, I actually put my cell number on my business cards, and call me. We love when people come on campus. As you know, we're going through all the remodels and the renovations. I think it's been a pretty powerful experience for the many people who have come on, and they remember the blue paint that's still upstairs, and you know, they get very nostalgic, and you know, it's cool for me because I learn stories that happen in these hallways that I get to tell. You know, I don't know if they always want me to tell them, but get involved by participating. And we have a social series. We've done 12 or 15. We're going to Baton Rouge and Lafayette. We've been to Houston. We've hosted several in Houma. We've had the attendees, whether from the 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s, and we've gotten feedback that says, hey, 1978 graduate, I really enjoyed talking to that 2006 graduate because I made some connections that some things are still going on. So the in-person socials are just a lot of fun, sharing of stories.
All about building bridges. Doug, I want to thank you. Sure. Congratulations on a great career and all those championships. And I just thought it was time we proclaim to the audience that, once again, it's a pretty good dynasty y'all started.
Appreciate it, Martin. Thanks for having me.
All right, Doug. Thank you.
Take care.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.